Hello, everyone. This is your host, Sanjeev Goyal. I'm back again with an amazing alum of IIT Delhi with us, Arvind Jain. Arvind Jain doesn't really need any introduction. Two times unicorn founder, has done amazing work. He worked with Google, where he built the search. Let's talk to him and really take learn from him what's his view on the future and how he has achieved all this. Arvind, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Sanjeev.
So, Arvind, you're IIT Delhi alum. Can you talk about your hostel days? And you were Kumaon, right?
Yes. Well,
Awesome. Go
the yeah,
Kumaon.
yeah, exactly. The hostel days of IITs are the fondest memories, of my life. We built all these great friendships. We actually we have a really good, close, set of friends. Like we meet, once every few years. But yeah, I think the I loved those 4 years at IIT. It sort of course, fundamentally defined not just me but all like everybody all of us who were there. It has played a key role in our careers, in our lives. The but my fondest memories are around, first of all, not really being up to doing anything, just laze around, being be in the common room, play carom till late night, and then wake up in the morning, and hopefully somebody could go and sign for your attendance, at the lecture. We were actually always felt at the IIT, you know, attendance became compulsory, with our batch. So literally, with our batch, so we had, you
I
know,
remember that time.
in a hostel, 3 year, falls from year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and everybody else, they don't go to the college, and we have to go to the insti to actually attend the classes, and therefore we couldn't play as much carom, or just chit chat. So those interesting days, we invented, of course, all these things, proxy attendance and whatnot, mechanisms to still be up to nothing, but somehow survive and graduate. So good memories. But I love my time there.
So, Arvind, we all have amazing fond memories just like you. And most of our listeners are from IIT and students to even a young alum and everyone else in between. You were a very shy person in IIT days. And today you run a phenomenal company. Can you share with our audience how was that journey and did you plan it? Is it serendipity? What really happened and what has worked for you?
Yeah. So first, the being at the IIT, I think you are in a really good environment, because I think this, regardless of whether you want to do it or not, you are put in a journey where you're going to learn. You're going to learn a lot of different things. Like one, of course, the core engineering. You have to pass the exams. So there's no choice but to learn, right? But also, you learn, being independent, being among folks, who are all likely smarter than you, and you have to sort of compete with them, and make your mark. So this great training that first happens at IIT. But as you said, I'm an introverted person. I was after IIT, as I followed most of all of us, we had a set path for us, typically we'd apply for scholarships and try to get a chance to study in the States. So some people would choose that option, some people would actually go in the industry right away. And so I chose the first path, and I was in came to the US, enrolled in a PhD program, and I didn't finish it. I just I was more excited about working in the industry after a year or so. So I took my first job, and one of the things that I learned was, I was really overwhelmed. Always felt like an imposter. I felt like I wasn't a good coder, good developer. And but I joined Microsoft, and everybody there was really smart, and I barely got the job offer, and but then now I have to sort of figure out how to survive, how to prove myself here. And like my early years were sort of, I would say, like I struggled, the I was learning for sure, but I was also like clearly feeling that like I'm not at the same level, right? And I think oftentimes lot of us actually go through those journeys, and I think maybe we give up. And I think that's the thing that I would tell everybody, that's all normal. You should not be thinking that way. Everybody gets breaks. Everybody gets good breaks. So after Microsoft, I joined a startup called Akamai, and there were maybe 20, 30 people in that company. Um, and and I think that's where I actually learned that, well, number one, the I was forced to become independent. I joined the company, and unlike in Microsoft, where people would tell you what you need to do, like in a startup, nobody tells you what to do, and so you got to figure it out yourself. And so if you have to figure it out yourself, then you have to sort of understand the business. You have to understand what this product even is, what do we build. And so I sort of felt like just being put in a startup environment actually forced me to both learn more than just do the work that's given to you, but actually figure out what work you should be doing. It also forced me to sort of come out of my shell, and instead of maintaining to stay as an introverted shy person, I'd actually go and talk to people. I'd actually go figure out what projects I could work on. And so a lot of growth happened to me that way. And then and I think in that company, I worked hard. That was one of the things which like in IIT, it's uncool to work hard. You're trying to be a cool cat. You want to graduate without doing any work. But I think in the industry is different. I wanted to succeed and prove myself. So I worked hard, and hard works gets noticed, and you'll find amazing people who would notice that work, and then take them under you, and give you the opportunity to achieve bigger things. And that's sort of what I feel has happened to me continuously, in my jobs. It happened at Akamai. I was in within 2 years I was given the charter to run the entire team as a technologist. When I went to Google, it was a relatively small early company, and my first management job ever was to actually build Google India. I was asked to actually come,
Wow.
move to India and just build out our presence in our R&D presence, and we actually built the one of the largest remote sites for Google doing that. And I think the interesting story there is that how did that become my first job? I had not even managed an intern in my life. How do I build a team of 500 people? And so when somebody asked me to do that, I told them that,
And the best performers, top performers, not
yeah,
just anyone.
exactly. And so when when our the Google executive team asked me to do that, I said, you are surely confused. I'm not the person you're looking
I'm
for.
not the guy.
Maybe there's somebody else with the same name as me, because I don't know how to do this stuff. To manage even a single person, I can't build this thing. And but the I was told that no, you'll figure it out, just go and do it. And I think so I think opportunities come your way, when you do good work, it's always noticed. And you sort of ride those opportunities, do justice to them, and more come. And that's been the story of my career. With that success that came to me at Google. I grew a lot. I learned a lot technology wise, and also build the confidence to actually go and be an entrepreneur, something that I always wanted to, but never had the confidence. I came to me over time, and that's how Rubrik got started in 2014, and then Glean in 2019.
That's awesome. I mean, Arvind, you have a phenomenal journey. And while you were talking, I was thinking of a dear friend of mine, Rudy Rutiger. There is a movie after him, Rudy, big Notre Dame football player. And he always says, and I asked him a couple of his, like how he lives his life and how he has achieved all this. And there are so many players who can better than him. Why there is a movie after him? I mean, and we over a drink and all, we talk. And he said, Sanjeev, two things I want to share with you. He said, number one, mantra of my life is never quit. I was nobody, but I never quit. I continue to work on it. Number two, I surrounded myself and always continuously seeking my people who encourages me,
Yeah.
who helps me, who believes in me. And, that just does magic. Because if you're in an environment where no everybody's questioning you, where everybody you feel like you're nobody and nobody believe in you, it's very hard to thrive. And I think that will be one secret of your two company, correct me if wrong, that you bring the people, you give them opportunity just the way you got the opportunity and build what you have built, like amazing. That's my next question, actually, follow-up question, Arvind, on it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the well, see, I think the two things, which I feel like, brings success. Like, like for example, if you think about a company, what's going to make you successful? Number one, like you have to have an ambition. Um, and that ambition has to sort of almost feel unrealistic, because otherwise you're not aiming for
You're not
something.
trying harder enough.
Yeah, yeah, I think, and you're going to limit yourself, like, you're going to underachieve. And then second, you have to know that you are just a cog in the wheel, in that sense that you're going to be one of many people who are going to actually achieve that amazing big vision. And so for us, like, the formula for what we think is going to bring success at these companies is, well, like, try to find the best people, people who are committed, who are hungry, who want to make something happen, people who actually want to succeed. And then, like, bring them in and let them be. Like, that was the Google model. Like, that's what I felt fortunate that I went through that, where nobody at Google ever asked me, or on what I was working on, or like, pushed me, to do certain things. They just gave me the platform for me to sort of go and build whatever technology I wanted to build. Like, that's why, that's what made them such an amazing company. Like, engineers just love them. And so we follow the same principle at Glean now, is bringing the best people who are there, and just make sure that you enable them, you provide them the support they need, but otherwise let them basically be in
See
charge.
what they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward, Arvind. You know, you started Glean in 2019. That
Mhm.
was not the greatest time to start a company. We hit COVID, and it was. I'm sure your company also have gone through pretty uh, interesting time. I'll say, I don't know, difficult, but interesting time, because a lot of companies thrived in that time.
Yeah.
So the question I really have is, you have spent more than a decade with Google and search, and you again picked search, and Rubrix was not a search company.
Mhm.
So why search? Why are you so fascinated by search? I'm kind of really
Yeah.
struggling with that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
could
I
have
mean,
solved the cancer problem, you could have solved any problem, because it's all about systematic thinking. That's what we learn in IIT.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, like, first, I think I just I'm fascinated with this problem of of search, or rather, like, I don't think of it as search. It's basically like, people have questions, and you're trying to bring answers to them for those questions. Um, and it's almost like, it's magic. Like, think about what Google promises to you. Is like, you can go there, like, any question that you have, any information that you're looking for, like, like, you just, you say a couple of words, you may misspell them, like, you can be really imprecise, and still, Google reads your mind and brings, the right information back to you. And I think it's incredible, like, its impact on us, on our lives has been, it's just like, I think it's the great,
Fantastic. It's just
great.
unbelievable.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, like, when we were starting Glee, like, I was actually really um it was really, like, like, sort of unsettling for me that we have such a great tool in our personal lives, but we have nothing like that in our work lives. When we're working, um, it's so hard to find the right information that we need to complete our tasks. So hard to actually get answers to our questions. Enterprises today, we use hundreds of different systems inside an enterprise, to store our company's data and knowledge. Um,
And it's in
and
silos everywhere.
it's in silos, and there's a lot of it. Knowledge is actually also like when we are in a knowledge and data-driven world, it's exponentially increasing, every year. So most companies are in this form where, their overall company's knowledge data is spread across thousands of systems, and there's so much of it, and it's also of very varying levels of quality. Even when you find something, you're never sure whether it's still the right information or not,
Right.
right? And so I think people struggle a lot, with this problem. We were actually struggling with this at Rubric. Also, that's how Glean actually came into Glean got started. Is as we grew fast, in our Rubric journey, within 5 years we were more than 1,500 people. We saw that with fast growth, the we didn't see the corresponding increase in productivity. We were struggling, and people were struggling, and we used to run this pulse survey every year to learn from people, what the company can do better on. And the loudest complaint, the biggest complaint in that survey was people complaining that, hey, I cannot find anything in this company. I don't know where to go and look for things. I also don't know who to go and ask for help. And it wasn't surprising, because we had 300 different SaaS applications with tons of data, and we have no employee directory, no concept of who's an expert on what topics, who does what, right? So that was a problem that we faced there. I tried to actually, and that's sort of what got me excited about actually solving
Glean.
that problem. Being a search engineer by training, having spent most of my engineering career on that, I felt this was again a really important problem that we could solve and fundamentally change how work happens. But the other thing, on this problem that I would also mention is the um, 2018, when we were thinking about this, that was a time when transformers and the model tech, the neural network space, language models, they're just making their mark in the industry. Nobody was talking about them. Like today, you go and talk to any technologies, they know what transformers are, and language models is the talk of the town. In 2018, nobody really cared about it besides people on the Google search team, because initially all of this tech was built, these language models were built to make Google search better. So we luckily were aware of this of this technology, because most of us here we are ex Google search engineers, and we saw the transformative power of this of this tech. Before, search used to be more about well, you type in a few keywords, we'll try to find important documents or web pages that have those words. But now you could actually do matching at a conceptual level. I could understand a long question that you ask. I can read a long document and sort of also understand what it is about, and sort of tell you whether those things are similar or not, like your question in a document. So we could see that we could build a new search technology that would be so much more powerful, with these latest AI models. Little did we know that these models will actually get thousand or million times better than what they were at that time. They were super powerful for us at that time, but over time it just got even they got even more powerful. So our our mission at a company, we started with being the best search in people's work lives. From there we sort of were able to actually now we think about our company more as we're the best AI assistant for people at their work. And from a product perspective, when you come in and ask questions, we can go one step further, not just surface the right information to you, but actually read that information using AI and answer the actual give you precise answers that you're looking for generated by AI, and then you can just converse with it, right? So I think this is I think the it was a long answer to come back to your original question. We saw
Why
amazing,
search?
and yeah, we saw amazing AI technology, which would sort of fundamentally redefine how a search product is built. And we felt that a product like that will have such a big impact on people's day-to-day lives. Like one third of all working time was just spent looking for information. So we can really bring a lot of efficiency to people. So
Well,
it was an exciting problem, and that's how we got started. The other thing, and I guess it's interesting lessons. It's not so much about search, but like, oftentimes, like especially at IIT, like, a lot of people want to be entrepreneurs. Like, that's sort of like, the environment at IIT, is conducive to that. Like, it's conducive.
Especially IIT Delhi.
Yeah. And
No,
so
even Bombay too, actually.
yeah. So yeah, so you want to be entrepreneur, but sometimes, like maybe like, you are, you're thinking too much about it, and you're trying to actually hunt for a problem, and maybe that works, maybe that doesn't, but to me, like, what's like, I think what works better is that, well, wherever you work, problems are going to come to you. um Big problems that you will get exposed to, and then, you like get excited about solving one of them, and that's how a company starts. So for me, like, the journey of Glean was not that, hey, I want to start a company. Like, I was already, like,
You have a great company.
working on a company that we had started. But it was a problem that came to us, which we felt like, had to be solved. We would make so much impact on, on the world, and also like build an amazing, company as a result. So that's an interesting lesson for like entrepreneurship. Like, just, keep your ears
How
and
to do it.
eyes and ears open, and you will get exposed to lots and lots of problems. Those are worth solving.
So, search, which is fascinating to me, living in Silicon Valley for more than 2 decades. Now I moved to Las Vegas, but still mostly in Vegas, Bay Area. Google, Yahoo, they kind of invented this digital search word for all of us.
Mhm.
It's almost 29, 30 years, pretty much now,
Mhm.
that search is around. It has gone through its several evolution. And where we are today, where we are still having the challenges with search, which kind of baffles me. But
Mhm.
on the other note, the world has changed dramatically. Uh, in early 2000, we didn't even have smartphones. We had mobile phones, but not really smartphone. Smartphone created tons of companies, including Airbnb, Uber, and all of those, which I never thought I will see things like that. Like people are going to sit into a stranger's car or living into a stranger's house, and
Yeah.
it's $1 trillion plus economy today.
Yeah.
So in last 20 years, especially if I go back to pretty much the time I spent in Silicon Valley, tons and tons of startups came.
Yeah.
And organizations like AWS, especially like cloud and data centers, brought the uh, startup creation cost down dramatically. A
Yeah.
guy in a Timbuktu can create a company today. But
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I see it is changing in last couple of years.
Mm.
And specifically, I can give you one example. We are one of the early stage investor in a company called Adapt AI, got acquired by Amazon last year. I think they were into something similar kind of things. You are doing part of it, not the whole thing. And the big reason board approved that deal is because it required $1 billion to build a company.
Mm.
And I am seeing that this LLM and transformer and all this new, I will say, new ways of computing
Yeah.
has that. So, question I have for you is it the death of a startup, or am I
Mm.
missing something?
Yeah. Well, absolutely not. I mean, I think if you think about, like, startups, and first of all, AI is actually already creating more startups than I think ever before. Like, if you look at the number of startups that are getting funded and how much capital they're getting, I don't think, this is certainly breaking all the records. Um, but when you think about, like, overall, the technology stack or the startup ecosystem, there are companies that are going to be building, the lowest layer of the modern AI based software stack, right? So which are like, like the companies that have to build GPUs, companies that have to, build the interconnects, for the data centers, so like hardware level stuff. Then there are companies, that have to build, these, really powerful foundation models, companies like OpenAI or, Anthropic, and the but that's not where the stack ends. Like, you have a lot more on top of that. Like, ultimately, a startup exists to add value to a business or to an individual, right? And I think it's not sufficient. You don't have to actually go, first of all, you don't have to go and build language models, the foundation language models, um, to actually ultimately build AI product. Like you can actually use those models. Most startups, like, it's going to be like a reverse pyramid, right? Like you'll have a very few companies that will build like, infrastructure level things, large models. But then there's going to be a whole bunch of companies that are going to be using these technologies to solve real world, business problems. And so most of the AI startups are going to be of that nature. They're going to be application level. In some sense, we think of ourselves also as application level. Although we do train some models, but we also make use of like, these large foundation models, like OpenAI. Like see the model cost of, you're right that like, the next generation of models is going to cost $10 billion, to train. So of course, that's limited to a few companies. But the good thing is that once they build it, like, that model is available to companies like ours, and we can actually do a lot with them and solve like lots of amazing real world problems with them. So I think it's just like, I think you have to think in that fashion. Like, I actually feel that there are going to be even more startups because actually, one of the most interesting thing about AI is that you actually don't even need to be a software developer now to actually build a very interesting application
Jensen said that.
and
Don't
solve
learn coding now.
yeah, and solve a business problem. There are a lot of frameworks like and we see it every day. Like Glean, is we are a AI assistant. First of all, like when you think about us, like think of us like ChatGPT. Our product just looks like that. You come in, you ask questions, we'll actually answer those questions for you. Sometimes we'll use the world's knowledge. Sometimes we'll use all of your internal company's knowledge to answer those questions. So we're a superset of ChatGPT enterprise, right? I mean, I guess that's the way to think about it. But we're also an AI platform. The fact that we connect and bring all of the company's data together in one place, and we make it accessible through a really powerful retrieval stack. You know, we allow you, like our customers, to build many more AI applications and agents inside their companies on top of our platform. And most of those applications are actually created by business owners. Those are not engineers, because you have like now the way you build applications is that you just speak, or you just describe, like you tell, like like, hey, this is the business problem and this is how I solve it. And you can, like the paradigm of building an application is shifting from um, writing, code in, Java
Yeah,
or C++,
absolutely.
um, to actually you can just write it in English and you can actually create, amazing applications. So that's the future. And you have to remember, like, it's a very important point. The When I started my career, I was actually writing code in assembly language also, by the
I
way.
remember those days.
And
Tron.
there are very few people, like who could do that, like because it required a lot more education, a lot more training, um, and but then, like and then, like after that, we had C, and like C is also a painful language to work on, like you have to do memory management and all those things in that. Take care of a lot of stuff, which is sort of basic. And then we got C++, then we got Java, then we got Python, then we got like frameworks. And like, so the engineering, software engineering also has been about, like it happens at all different levels. There are still programmers who program.
Thinking through the problems become bigger thing than
Ah.
just coding nowadays.
And there are programmers who are still programming, at the assembly level, because like people are probably building chips, that will sort
Yeah.
of like understand
Yeah,
like
foundational stuff.
technology at that level. But the bigger and bigger portion of the software development workforce in the world, is on the higher layers. There are more people who probably are Python developers than C++ developers at this point, right?
Absolutely.
And you can just think of AI as one more layer that gets added on the top now, and that's basically programming in natural language.
True, true. So uh, we are almost getting to the end of our segment, Arvind. So I have a simple question for you, or maybe very difficult problem. You are seeing tons of problem, plethora of problem. What are the three problems you can think of you would like somebody to go and solve? Like you see it every day and say, damn, this is somebody has to go and build a company around it. Somebody, like I'll give you one idea, which based on my past trip. Uh, I was in Norway on a biking trip with three of my friends. There were like 30, 40 people. It was a very well organized trip. We met five, six more people. And now all of us came from different part of the world, including my other two friends. It's so hard for us to stay connected. We want to connect. We want to create more opportunities. Uh, I want to find ways like if I'm in New York, can I ride with this person? It just, and simple things like that. Even today, the
Yeah,
hospitality sector is so fragmented. And
yeah,
I am still thinking like I have to go to San Diego, I have to go to six website, my admin needs to do this. So that's one use case, and that's an easy one. I'm sure all the
yeah.
listeners
There
can.
are,
What are the
yeah,
use cases you think uh,
yeah.
will be interesting for people to solve?
Yeah. I think like, first before I like, talk about specific ideas, like, I'll just share one thing. I think we are in a very interesting time today, where a lot of like, like how we do things, like, we can fundamentally change them, with, the AI, with the AI technology. Um,
Absolutely.
so what that does is it creates, this opportunity now for entrepreneurs to start companies, because you know you can take, in fact, like, take your daily life, think about where you spend time, and you will be able to 100% like come up with three or five different things where you can see that, well, oh look, I can save an hour of my time
Exactly.
every week if there was a product like this, right? So I think like, just like, I think that's one thing, like, I feel like the best ideas always come when you just think about yourself, and like, the things that you can improve for just for yourself. So like, and now within that realm, sort of, if I think about me, I'm the CEO, of Glean. And so it's always, like, on top of my mind on, like, how I can be more efficient, how we can actually improve productivity of every one of our individuals. So some of the problems that I want to solve, which I think, AI can do a great job with, is, well, for our sales team, like, our sales team, they have to actually spend a lot of time trying to actually find for, like, let's say that we want to actually go and sell our product to Pepsi. And so now there's a lot of manual work that happens in terms of figuring out, like, who are the right people, at Pepsi, who we should be talking to, who are the people who are actually trying to solve problems, um, which are like, our product can actually help solve for them. And so for that, you have to mine, you have to actually look into, like, both, that companies and its information and look at its 10K filings, look at the top initiatives that they have, look at people, look at what they're posting on social media. Some people will post that, hey, I'm looking for this kind of thing or that kind of a thing. And so all of that happens manually today, and there's no reason for that. Like, you can actually have an AI agent, that can actually, like, automatically find that the best people, and also figure out what the initiatives they're working on, and actually create an amazing message that can be sent back to them. And you can automate the whole process of
Brilliant idea.
outreaching to your connect, to your clients. So that's an example, like, our cost, like, we want to sort of make sure that everyone in the world quickly learns about Glean. So it's an important problem for us to solve. So we'll go and look for a product in that space, or we'll probably, but also, like, interestingly, we feel like, we can just use, you know our own AI platform, like, maybe to solve it. But then in coming back to engineers, so like, there's a lot of focus in engineering on um, code, like code gen, like, where instead of humans writing the
Big
code,
one.
AI writing the code. But the journey doesn't stop there. Like, if you think about the software development life cycle, um, engineers spend 80% of the time not writing code and doing other things. So like, how can you actually help have some, like, like, think about each one of those processes. Those processes are like, somebody has to actually test the software, somebody has to troubleshoot and debug issues, somebody has to be on call, like, and you have to think about, like, well, I'm going to take, each, like, any one of those areas, and figure out how I'm going to deploy AI, to
Do
sort of,
that.
like, and bring agentic, capabilities to sort of solve that problem. So I think right now it's just like, it's a, like, I feel like a a kid in a candy store. Like, that's sort of the metaphor of this. Like, there's like my head is bursting with like, can we do this with, like, with in a new way,
Really?
can we do that, with AI. And you'd like, it's so I don't think it's a question of shortage of ideas. It's really like for us, it's a question of prioritization. But for an entrepreneur, like, let's say if you are trying to actually do something, start a company, I think, it's about taking a problem and then just believing in it. Like, oftentimes, like the problem with us, like, with the IIT people is like, I think we're too smart for ourselves, like, in the sense that, we'll take our own ideas and we'll go and kill them thinking that, oh, like, maybe it's not that good, or maybe, two other people are solving it. And that's the one thing that I always, that's the parting message I'd leave our audience with is like, look, if you see a problem, just go and solve it, believe in it, don't give up. The It never matters who else is solving it. If the problem is there, that means nobody's solving it. It doesn't matter anymore. Like, just go and like, I think, the world is full of opportunities.
So, Arvind, I'm really having so much fun. In fact, I will ask you again. I would like to do really session around AI agents because that's one very, very important thing. In fact, I'm working on a book idea. I'm calling it AVA 007. So
Yeah.
it'll be a cool topic to talk about. What is your take on that? But for audience, I would like to summarize our today's conversation with the three things I really personally learned. Number one, as Arvind mentioned earlier, is surround yourself with the people who believe in you. And that's so profound. And I never thought prior to our conversation today how important it is. And I'm going back to all the amazing people I met in my life and where I am personally in my life is because they believed in me. Number two is looking, as Arvind said, for an opportunity. You will find it. Just look at day-to-day problem, whatever it is. Is it a search problem or is it how you make life more efficient? How you make humanity, the quality of humans better every single day. In the end, it's all about our life. And the last one is take your chances as Arvind has done. Twice he has built it. I'm sure all of you can build it too. And Arvind, before I let you go, I created a song using AI and I want to play for you if that's okay with you. It'll be a quick one. Do we have 1 more minute?
Yeah, sure. I would have said, Sanjeev, one thing, by the way, we should have seen like how AI would have summarized this conversation. Um, but good, yeah, let's play that.
Down low to the secrets that you know. She's always right in your ear, guiding you without fear. Every step you take with grace, Alice got your back in every place. She's the picture in your hand, understands you where you stand. Every move, every plan, Alice here to understand. The agent knows.
What do you think?
That's, that's that's impressive.
I
Like,
cooked it because you gave me 1 hour extra. I say I have nothing better to do, so I am going to create a song.
well, that's that. There you go. Like, that's the coolest thing about AI. Like, it's just giving us all these tools we never had. I mean, I think it's a like that's the most exciting thing for me. With AI is that it's going to change. Like, it's going to change everything, how we work and what we can do.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Arvind, for your time. I'll reach out to you, and I can't thank you enough. It was really awesome.
Right. Thanks, Sanjeev. It was great to be here.